When an elite sniffer dog ran towards a pile of suspicious luggage, his handlers were understandably concerned. However, when they opened it, they were not ready for the shocking sight that was in there. In airports, sniffer dogs are one of the best lines of defense against people smuggling contraband in and out of countries. Because dogs have an incredible sense of smell, they can sniff out all kinds of things and pick up scents that would ordinarily pass us humans by. This brings us to the story of a remarkable dog named Max. He was working at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi airport, and alongside his handlers, he would wander around the airport, keeping an eye, or in Max's case, a nose, out for anything that quite literally smelled off. The dog had been doing this for many years by that point, and he knew the airport very well. Max was known by the staff throughout the airport, and even frequent flyers would recognize the working dog. But no one would ever dare stop and pet him, not while he was on patrol. They all knew better than to fuss a dog who had an important job to do. So, brimming with enthusiasm, Max spent his days working alongside his dedicated handlers, ensuring the safety and security of all passengers. One day, Max and his handlers arrived at the airport as usual. There was nothing particularly out of the ordinary about that day, and nothing seemed immediately wrong. As the airport became increasingly busy and bustled with travelers from all over the world, Max and his handlers began their routine inspection at the baggage screening area. One by one, bags and suitcases passed through the X-ray machine, while Max diligently sniffed for any traces of dubious substances or prohibited items. Bag after bag went by, and for the officers, all the suitcases started to look the same. But to Max, each of them had a different smell that would set them apart from each other. They weren't necessarily bad or suspicious smells, but they definitely kept Max interested in the job. It's what made him so good and effective as a sniffer dog. You see, Max had an impeccable track record, never once missing a potential threat or prohibited item. Passengers, both regular and frequent, were in awe of Max's skills and felt a sense of reassurance knowing that he was on duty. To see a sniffer dog checking over the luggage indicated to them that the best man for the job was on the case, quite literally. But as the morning progressed, something seemed off. Max's energy waned far quicker than normal, and he seemed a little tired. His unusually buoyant tail began drooping, and his once energetic sniffs became lackluster. His handlers, sensing his unease and understanding that there might be something wrong, gave him a momentary break to have some treats and regain his energy. They knew that Max's work required a lot of energy and focus, but they also realized that even the most exceptional dogs had their off days. Concerned for Max's well-being, the handlers decided to take him outside for a short walk to clear his head and allow him to get a little fresh air. With every step in the open air, Max's spirits lifted and his keen senses sharpened once more. He chased sticks and balls, and he was able to be just a normal dog for a while. That seemed to be just what the doctor ordered, and Max suddenly seemed enthusiastic once more. With a rejuvenated passion for his job, Max headed back into the airport and returned to the screening area. Max's enthusiasm was through the roof. He was ready to get to work and help everyone out. Bags continued to pass through the X-ray machine, and Max resumed sniffing with renewed energy and vigor. He bounded between bags and passengers, happily sniffing away at everything and making sure that everything was okay and above board. For a few hours, he happily zoomed to and fro until suddenly his mood shifted once more. But this time, Max wasn't tired or bored, it was something else. He suddenly became hyper-focused, and his nose twitched at the scent of some kind of questionable substance. His attention was on a pile of large suitcases that sat in the corner, and he sat still, pointing his nose directly towards the luggage. This was an indication to the handlers that something was amiss and that they needed to closely inspect the bags. From where they stood, there was nothing unusual about the suitcases. But as they approached, they noticed that something was indeed a little strange about them. There were strange lumps and bumps, and even a few suspicious damp patches. Lifting them up, they placed them on the X-ray machine and sent them through, peering at the screen to get a glimpse of what was inside. As the suitcases passed through, the handlers' eyes widened, and they all realized that Max's instincts had been correct once again. In the suitcases, the handlers spotted unusual shapes and shadows that aroused even more suspicions. It didn't look like drugs, weapons, or money. Instead, these things they saw were a surprising amount of exotic animals. Over 100 animals, including 2 white porcupines, 2 armadillos, 35 turtles, 50 chameleons, and 20 snakes, were crammed together in terrible conditions. The lining of the case was soaked with urine and feces, and sadly, several of the animals already looked to have died. Max whined as he peered into the case. This wasn't Max the sniffer dog, this was Max the normal dog who wanted to help out the poor animals that were in distress. But he already had helped them by identifying the suitcases. Max had saved many of their lives. If it wasn't for him, many more of these exotic animals would have perished while in transit to their destination airport. Luckily, a local animal center took all of the animals in and nursed most of them back to full health. They were then sent on to local zoos and exhibition centers where they could go on to live happy, healthy, and safe lives, far from the world of being stuffed into suitcases and illegally shipped around the world. News of Max's remarkable discovery traveled quickly throughout the airport and beyond, making headlines across the city. The Indian woman who had been traveling with the animals was shocked as her ill intentions were now exposed for the world to see. Authorities swiftly apprehended her, ensuring that no harm would befall the rescued animals she was shipping to a foreign buyer willing to pay large amounts of money for them. Authorities would soon catch up with the intended recipient, and he too would be brought to justice. And as for Max, well, the ever-modest and humble dog continued his duty at Suvarnabhumi Airport, tirelessly sniffing, searching, and safeguarding the premises. His days were filled with excitement and purpose as travelers and airport staff alike acknowledged his unwavering commitment to duty. But from that day forward, the legend of Max, the extraordinary police sniffer dog, spread far and wide. Not only did he save the lives of countless poor animals, but he also reminded us of the crucial efforts in preserving both human safety and the well-being of all of Earth's wonderful creatures. What a good boy. So now it's over to you. What did you think of this incredible story? Have you ever seen a sniffer dog like Max at work as you pass through an airport?